Alright guys, so today we're going to take a look at how to build our very first HTML website. Now we're going to build a very simple website just to see the basic structure, and then eventually we're going to start building a table. Right, so let's get started. I'm going to use a program called Notepad++, but you could also use anything similar such as Notepad. Now the first thing that I want to do is define that this is an HTML document type. So I'm going to type in doc type HTML. Now I'm going to close that, and then I need to define the very basic structure. So I'm opening an HTML tag, and I need to close it at the very end of my HTML document. I then need to create a head, and then I also need to close this, and then I'm going to create a body tag, and close this as well. Now I'm going to remove some of the spaces because it's way too spaced out. Okay. And the first thing that I want you guys to notice is that in HTML we use something called tags. So it's these triangle brackets, okay? And anything that lies within them is actually a tag. Now, one thing that I said right at the beginning of the video is any tag that I've opened, I need to close once I'm finished with it. So in this case, tags are closed by using the slash within inside the triangle braces. So as you can see, I've opened an HTML tag and I've closed it, and within this HTML tag I've put two elements, and so two other tags inside. A head tag, which is open here and closed here, and the body tag, which is open here and closed here. Now, HTML is quite an easy language to understand. Anything that we do is done through the creation of tags. So for example, in the heading section of my HTML document, we will usually see tags such as the title. Okay, so I could put something like my first website. Oops. And then I need to close the tag since I've finished with it. Okay. Now, the second thing I want to do is I want to create something in the main body of my HTML document. So something inside this area here. Some of the things that you might be asked to do is create things such as headings. There are 6 different heading types. Some of the ones that we are interested are usually H1s. Okay, so this is an H1. Okay, I'm going to create a heading 2 so that we can see how that looks like. And the heading 3. And for the sake of things, a heading 4. Do note that every heading I've opened, I've closed it once I was finished with it. So I've put my text between my two tags, between my opening tag and my closing tag. Now, for me to actually test this out, I need to save this file. I'm going to call it my first website, and I'm going to save it as HTML. Okay. Let's get rid of that one so we don't get confused. Right. So now that I've got that done, I need to open this website. So I'm going to navigate to my desktop, and I'm going to open this website. So now we can see the website that we created in just a matter of seconds. So let's take a look side by side and compare what we've done. So first things first, in the header in the head of my HTML document, I added a title tag. Okay, I opened my title tag, I wrote the contents inside my first website, and then I closed the title tag. Now this is clearly visible right here. Okay, now in the body of my HTML, I created 4 different types of headings. I created an H1 and I wrote inside, this is an H1, and then I closed my H1 tag, so I can clearly see it here. Now I can clearly see the differences between the sizes from each and every single line of text that we created. Okay, so this is very simple to create. Now, in many cases, you might be asked to create paragraphs in HTML, which is represented by the P tag. Okay, so I might write in here, this is an example of a paragraph. And now that I'm finished, I need to close this paragraph. Okay, so if I save that and I refresh my page, it created a new paragraph for me. Now it might not seem like much, but if, for example, I wanted to write on the line below, I'd need to create a new paragraph. Once I'm done with that, I will close this tag as well. If I save it and refresh, I'll see a second paragraph. Now, sometimes we use styling effects or simple formatting effects on text. Now, for example, if I wanted to make the word example in this sentence here, in this paragraph here, bold, all I need to do is wrap it around a tag, a B tag, like so. So now this word and only this word will be bold. If I save this, we can clearly see it right here. Now I can do this for an entire sentence. So I could make this sentence entirely bold, like so. If I refresh, I can see that this is clearly bold when compared to this paragraph here. Alright, so now that we've covered the very basics of HTML, I want you to make sure that you remember a very basic structure for HTML. I want you to remember that all HTML files have a declaration at the top, then they have the main HTML body tag, the main HTML tag, which is clearly highlighted in purple right now. Within the HTML tag, we have the head tag and the body tag. Okay? Alright. So let's check out how we can create a simple table. Now, the table I want to create is going to be a 2-column table. Right, let's take a look. Let's create a very simple table in Word just to illustrate. Alright. Now this table has 6 rows and 2 columns. In HTML, we need to create every single row individually, and then within each row we need to create the individual columns. Okay, so in very basic terms, in HTML we create an entire row and then we divide the cells inside. So let's take a look at the structure of a table in HTML. So to keep things simple, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to copy the main structure of my HTML body, which is always going to be the same. And the only thing that I'm going to keep and just change slightly is the title. So I'm going to call this my first HTML table. Alright. So now that we can see that everything is back in the same order, okay, and that we have the main structure. So we have the main HTML tag and a closing for it, the main heading tag and a closing for it, the main body tag and a closing for it. We can now start working on our table. Now, in HTML, we've said that everything works with tags. So for me to create a table, I need to create the well-known table tag. Okay? And this table tag will wrap around quite a few other tags. So I'm going to open it and then close it. And now I'm going to start populating this tag. Now do note that spaces in HTML, when it comes to the structure, don't matter whatsoever. I'm just creating spaces to make things a bit more organized for myself. And I recommend you do the same too. Right, so now that we've defined that we're going to create a table, the table itself also has a head, a body, and a footer. So, let's create those tags as well. So the head is called thead. Let's create it and then close it. It also has a tbody. Let's create it and then close it. And then it also has a tfoot for footer. Alright, so now what we've done is we've prepared our HTML document to make a table. We haven't created a table yet because we haven't defined any of these rows, or any of these individual cells. Okay, so now we're gonna have to define the header part of our table, and then the body, and then the footer. Now, not all tables in HTML have a header and a footer, but let's take a look at what they actually do. So if I put anything in the header, it will create the first row as bold. It will work similarly in the footer as well. So let's take a look at how we actually start building our table. Now, we said that HTML creates rows for the table, and then within those rows we put our cells, our columns. So how do I create a row? I create a row by using the table row tag, tr in short. Okay, and I will open it and close it. Okay, and inside I want to put table data, in short td. So since I want to have a table with two columns, up to now what I've done is I've created this very first row, but I have only told it that it has one cell, one table data. Okay? If I want to add a new cell to make it look even in two columns, all I need to do is create another table data tag, like so. Now let's write something to actually see how this works. So if I type in now, for example, fruits and prices, and I save this file, my first HTML table, whoops, where did I save it? Oh, I forgot to save it as HTML. Okay, there we go. So I click save, and I need to rename it correctly. My first first HTML table and then click save. We should be ready to go. Let's see. Right, okay. So now I just need to load it up into my browser. And right now it seems like I don't have anything. It seems like I don't even have a border around my table. That's because we haven't defined that our table will have this border around it. So if I wanted to fix this, all I would need to do is I would need to modify my table tag to tell it to have a border, like so. So if I save that and I refresh my browser, I see a border around it. So there we have it. We have our first table row with 2 cells. Now, I've made a little mistake here. In the table header, I have a table row, but since I'm working in the table header, for these 2 elements to be bold, as I suggested just a moment ago, the tag here should be th for table heading, and the same goes for the bottom one. Now, you only have to do this, the th tag, in the header of your table. In every other part of our table, in the body and the footer, we will be using the table data tags, like I mistakenly put just a moment ago. So if I click save and I refresh this, I see now that my titles are bold. Okay, so let's continue adding rows and populating them. Okay, so this table here has 6 rows, so we're going to need to create 6 table rows, and then we're going to need to put 2 table data tags inside each. So let's see how that happens. So now, up to now, we've created something like this. But we want to continue building on this to have something like this. So we want to recreate this table here. And we've already done the very first part. Let's see how we can add the other 5 rows in the table body. So I need to click inside the table body, and I need to start creating table rows. Every time I open one, I need to also close it. Okay? That's one table row. Let's create another one. That's my second table row. Let's create another one. That's my third. Whoops. That's my fourth, and we need one more, but I want to create the last row to be the table footer. So to do that, I need to click in the table footer section and create one last table row. Alright, so what we've created now is basically this table. Whoops. Whoops. Alright, so we've created a table basically now without any contents and without any columns except the very top one. Right, so for me to start creating these cells, so for example oranges and then the price of 10, I need to start building inside my table row in the body table data cells, similarly to what we've done with the table heading tags. So I need to open a table data tag, write the name that I want inside, oranges, and then I need to close this table data tag. Okay, but that will only create this cell. Now in this row I want to also have this cell here with the price 10, so I need to create a new table data tag and put the value that I want inside, which is 10, and then close this table data tag. Now I need to repeat this step for every single row. So in this case I'll create another one, table data here, call it apples, and close my tag, whoops, like so. And I need to create another one for the price. So the price here is 15, and now that I've finished I need to close this. So let's take a look, before I've completed this, let's just take a look how it's looking up to become. So if I click save, and I refresh my web page, now I can see that I've created 2 rows, and I see that there's potential for more because I haven't filled in the rest of my rows. So let's continue, let's see what else we have. So I need to go and find the next table row here, create a tag for table data, call it bananas, and close this tag. And then I need to create a new table data tag for its price, which is 5, and then close it again. And now I need to create another one in the other table row. So table data again for kiwi. Okay, close it up again. And another one for the kiwi price, so table data. And then close this again. Alright, so now the only one that's remaining now is the actual totals. Okay, so let's say that we're doing this from scratch again. I need to create a separate row for my footer, so I need to create a table row. I need to close my table row, and inside this table row I need to put table data for the word totals, and close my table data again. And I also need to create another column, table data again, for the total price, which is 40, and close my table data tag. Let's save it and see how that turns out. So there we have it. We have a table that's quite narrow, but it represents what we've created here. Now, in many cases, we might be asked to add a caption or a heading on top of our table. So to do this, under our main table tag, we can write the tag caption and give it what caption we want. So for example, this is my first HTML table and it is amazing. And now I need to close that caption tag. Let's save it and check out how that looks. There we go. So notice how it's staying the same width as the table. Now don't worry about that. We'll take a look at how we'll expand and edit our table to look a bit prettier. For the time being, this is how you can create a table in HTML, and you've just experienced the very fundamentals of HTML. Now some things to remember, and I would like everyone to remember, is that an HTML consists of a very basic structure. And let's take a look at that structure one more time. Whoops. So this is the basic HTML structure. It consists of a declaration of the document type. Then it consists of the main HTML tag, which is the first tag that we use and the last one that will always appear in our document. inside our HTML tag, we have a head tag where we will put things such
I
as
hope
the
you enjoyed the
title
video
tag
and you
inside,
found it in some way helpful.
and also
Thank you for
inside
watching.
the HTML tag we have the body. Okay.